one if you can hear me. Okay, let's hope that's better. Fuck. Can people hear me? Check, check, check. Yes, 1. That's what we wanted. Phenomenal. It is fantastic. Is it a new stream? Did it come up as a new stream? Son of a... Oh, God. Okay, well... Whatever. I don't care if it's a new stream. Sorry, everybody, on the unfortunate occurrence there. Well, I tried. I tried to fix it without causing an absolute disruption, but with no avail, unfortunately. Hopefully people will find their way back. Well, thank you for telling people in chat. I appreciate all of you. Looks like it's time for... I think it's time for Women's Day. That's my thinking. Let's see if we can make it happen. At least it's partly. There's gonna be more stuff after Women's Day, just a little bit. Link it in Discord. Good idea, good idea. I'm sorry, I'm still just trying to get a couple of windows reopened over here, so I can't quite do that right now, but it's a good plan. International Chick Day. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Brandy gets it. Okay. It has less syllables. You're right. It is easier to say. Okay, so our little International Women's Day celebration is going to include just some sort of uplifting montages, a brief look at the world celebrating International Women's Day. An unfortunate but important look at a rise in attacks on women in Kenya. Unfortunately, that's the least celebratory video in here. But then a couple of other things, including recently an American woman making a what do you call it? Historic voyage, among other things. So let's get to it. Lady Day. Lady Day.
Don't be creepy.
In the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay?
I'm not trying to ban anything.
But you're not trying to ban any books.
Who said I'm trying to ban books?
Are you trying to remove books from libraries?
From public school libraries.
Okay. Sorry to end the jams, but we're gonna get right to it. Figured I would just let people shuffle in here as we get ourselves back to going. So sorry about the interruption, folks. Okay, now let's go back here. Oh, whoa. Can't show the whole shebang here. Unacceptable. Alright, now this is the video showing footage from International Women's Day all around the world. Women around the world demanded equal pay, reproductive rights, and more during demonstrations marking International Women's Day. International Women's Day is an official holiday in more than 20 countries. This year's global theme is Inspire Inclusion. Hundreds of protesters took to the street of Barcelona to call for gender equality. Definitely needed in Spain. Some problems there, unfortunately. Really needed everywhere, now that I think about it, to one degree or another. At marches in Pakistan, people protested against the oppression of women and transgender people. At marches in Pakistan... Oh, wait, that's just the same sentence. I'm reading twice. Excuse me. Autopilot. Protesters in South Korea called for the government to fix income inequality between men and women and give harsher punishments for sex crimes. Seems reasonable. A collective group of Afghan women hid their faces and chanted no to gender apartheid in Afghanistan is hell for women.
Желаем счастья, здоровья и благополучия.
National Guards in Ukraine's Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, controlled by the Russian military, handed flowers to female drivers at checkpoints. Jeez. You think that's necessary? Protesters clashed with police in the Philippines as women marched for the end of sexual harassment. Jeez, guys, you really think you needed all this gear for all this? What is the deal with this right here? This is so stupid. Stop. Just stop. Some protesters removed their bras in an act of defiance. Okay, now this one is going to be one of the tougher stories. This is relating to the increase in attacks on women in Kenya. Thousands took part in protests in January over these femicides. Wait, did I miss a piece? I feel like I did. Didn't I? Almost 60 women have been killed in Kenya since the start of the year, according to the government. Thousands took part in protests in January over these femicides. Njeri Migwi was at the protests. She's the founder of Usikimye, which means don't keep quiet. It advocates for victims of gender violence.
I found my voice in helping others because I am a survivor of gender-based violence myself. And in helping others, I healed myself and found my voice. And I'm here today as a survivor advocate.
Whoa, what just happened? Oh. That must be her social media. Ah, the organization uses Instagram to highlight this violence. Yeah. Makes sense. Easy way to do it. Sheila Shionga lives and works in Nairobi. She says she... Whoops, I'm reading too slow. She says she couldn't be more grateful for Njeri Migwi's help. I feel like I'm definitely butchering these names, but I am trying.
I met Njeri when I was staying in Vika through a friend where he rescued me from female circumcision, where my husband and his parents wanted to circumcise me, but through a friend he rescued me from those hands.
That is a horrific practice. That is so crazy. It is just a way to make women's lives worse. Jesus, I can't. It boggles my mind that that practice is still a thing in 2024, let alone a commonplace one in some areas. But it is truly horrifying. I've heard stories about it that just truly are shocking. Okay, here's for another more uplifting video. Hopefully we can somehow have a positive moment here during the Doomer stream.
Look inside yourself. Let's do this, team. I built this place on my own.
Make your mark.
I'm gonna think for myself.
Women had achieved equally in any endeavor they set out.
We're heroes. Noble warrior heroes. You can't wear a crown with your head down. I don't miss.
I'll be shooting for my own hand.
It's astonishing what women can do. We are home.
And yeah, you're thinking to yourself, why Disney? Why not? You know, I watched it and I was like, you know, I'm uplifted by that video, so we're gonna watch it. I don't care if they try and copyright strike me, I'll just cut it out later. But in the moment, we're gonna have fun. That's what I've decided today. Alright, now this is a actual story, like the other one, a couple of the other ones there. This is Cole Brower, who has become the first American woman to race non-stop around the world by herself in a sailboat, which I thought was really cool. And this video just came out a day ago. Cole Brower became the first American woman to race nonstop around the world by herself when she arrived Thursday in A Coruña, Spain. The 29-year-old is one of the more than a dozen sailors competing in the Global Solo Challenge, being the youngest and only woman in the group. Man, the volume for this is so quiet, it's terrible. The race, which set sail in October from A Coruña, took Brouwer around Africa's Cape of Good Hope and past Australia. She also faced the unpredictable, treacherous, and deadly Cape Horn at the southern tip of South America. The race took her 130 days to complete. Now, of course, there is definitely some criticisms that could be, made about sailing culture. And I think a lot of them are pretty obvious, so we're not even going to get into it, but it's a moment that is historical and relating to women's history. So it felt like a perfect thing to look at, considering it just happened, and it's International Women's Day. Point out, it does seem like she got around the world without any based orcas going after her, so it would seem that she at least had their blessing. This is out. This is out of Japan. I don't know if anybody's seen this one yet. This is a Reuters piece. It's pretty quick, but apparently some people in Japan have created a device. I don't know exactly how it works, but it allows men to experience a simulated menstrual pain. So this is some video of some Japanese men out there trying it out. I figured this would be kind of fun little moment here. This dude wants to take it off real bad. I can't stand straight, he says. The Purionoid. It's a great name for it.
もう動けなかったですね。もうすごく痛くて、もう立ってられないっていう感じでした。はい。実際に疑似体験して、すごいなんか毎月女性ではこういう痛みと戦ってお仕事されたりとかしているのかなと思うと、すごい女性逆にすごいなと尊敬いたしました。
By the way, he's saying it's actually amazing that women can withstand that. I truly respect them, I think is what he said. Yeah. So anyway, just thought that would be kind of fun to look at quickly here before we I got one more. It's gonna kind of segue us into the next one. Somehow I've managed to do that. Don't ask me how. This is a UN video celebrating International Women's Day. Monope would like to take off her menstrual pain as well. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Good point. Just momentary for those men in that video. Women have to go through it every single time they have their period. And that's just a fact. Just a fact. And can't stop it. Time will eventually stop it, but it takes a while, supposedly. And all women experience menopause at different ages. Today's environmental challenge needs all of us, not half of us. Empower women. Solve different. Thank you, UN Environment. Appreciate it. All right, well, that's going to lead us into the final half of the show, which is going to be entirely environmental doom, I'm afraid. So sorry. I'm a good ally? Well, thanks. Just doing what I can, so if that's all it takes, okay. Okay, where is the next video? Okay, we're not going to watch this whole one. It's pretty long. This is a DW documentary from a little less than a year ago. This is just to get us started. The rest of it's going to be pretty current. But this is just to get us thinking about just a little bit more in this environmental frame of mind. I'd like to give segues. I think that's sort of my thing. So this is going to move us into environmental doom. DW. Our drinking water is the world drying up. Oh boy. Whoa. Whoa. Go back. Don't do that. Okay. This is going to be funny. Okay, there we go.
Life on Earth could not exist without this wonderful chemical compound, H2O. In a never-ending cycle, water circulates the planet, preserving the lives of its inhabitants over millennia. But climate change is throwing this dependable system out of balance. Add to that a rising demand for water caused by industry, agriculture, and the world's growing population, and we run the risk of running out of this precious resource. But new technologies looking to nature as a role model and prehistoric knowledge gleaned from bygone cultures are helping researchers worldwide come.
Has anybody noticed that we have subtitles in some foreign language? I don't know how that happened.
With new ideas to sustainably protect our drinking water. And this German research vessel heads out to sea to explore freshwater reserves of great magnitude. Every spring, glaciologist Daniel Farinotti and his team make their way up to the Aletsch Glacier in Switzerland. Below the Jungfrau Joch research station at an elevation of 3,350 meters, they measure the depth of the snow. The glaciers of the Alps play a vital role in supplying water to millions of people. They feed water into Central Europe's largest river systems, the Danube, the Rhine, the Po, and the Rhone.
Unfortunately, the glacier's condition is none too pleasing. Switzerland's glaciers currently lose some 2% of their mass each year. So in the last 5 years, they've lost 10% of their entire mass. Sadly, the prognosis for the next 100 years is not terribly rosy either. If we don't manage to lower greenhouse gas emissions, if the way things are going continues, then we'll likely see only the last remnants of ice here, where we're currently standing. No more than that.
For more than a century, scientists have been coming.
Hold on. Can't watch the whole documentary. It is very long. So let me just get it to the next spot that I wanted it at. I'm going to do it right around here, I think.
The incredible result? Up to 8 months later, the water can still be found exactly where it was predicted to go, sometimes to water sources quite far away. Now, with the support of local environmental initiatives, residents of a few villages in the Andes are working to expand the amunas.
I'm pleased to finally restore this great thing our ancestors created.
The knowledge of pre-Incan cultures is now receiving worldwide recognition after the research conducted by the team at Imperial College London.
The water will help us to get better products, produce better harvests, and be able to sell them better too, so we ultimately earn a bit more profit.
Meanwhile, there are thoughts of applying the principle behind the amunas on a larger scale. For instance,
I think I didn't go quite far enough. Here we go. I thought it was like right before it, but it's actually a very long documentary.
vessel returns to its home port of Emden in October 2020. That's when the evaluation of the data and samples begins. Some 30,000 sediment cores from around the world are stored in Kiel. It's a valuable archive of the underground and of our global climate. Only half of every core sample is used for further research. The other half is preserved to serve as a reference for future generations. Geophysicist Christian Berndt, who heads GeoMar's Marine Geodynamics Research Unit, was in charge of the expedition to Malta. The precise analysis of the sediment samples isn't yet complete, but the team has made some preliminary findings.
What we didn't find during our expedition were places where the groundwater leaks into the sea. Looking around the globe, there are actually places where there are small sources of fresh water on the sea floor. But we didn't find anything like that. And we looked very carefully, using many different methods. If they existed, it's highly likely we would have found them. So the groundwater in Malta really is trapped underground and isn't flowing out.
But just because no fresh water is seeping out doesn't mean that there isn't any there. It could be enclosed in water pockets.
Right now, we don't know enough about these groundwater deposits on the seafloor. With our method...
Okay. Basically, I'm going to summarize it for you. Because it's just such a long video. But basically, yes, the Earth is kind of drying up. That is the conclusion that they come to effectively, and that groundwater is receding to some degree. And that the Earth is just experiencing less like normal precipitation. AC? Oh, gotta go to bed? Well, whenever you gotta go to bed, you go to bed. You do what you gotta do. We've already been going for, I think the stream stopped working like 2.5 hours, and I think we've been going at least 3 hours now. Like maybe 3.5. So I wouldn't be shocked. You've been hanging around for quite a while. Okay, this next one is gonna be much more recent. This is from 4 days ago. This is CTV News. Climate experts warn of wildfires, drought after mild winter.
A monster storm is bearing down on millions of Americans. Blizzard warnings remain for the people in the West, with some areas already buried under several feet of snow. But the extreme weather doesn't stop there, with deadly fires raging through the Texas Panhandle. Canada also seeing some unseasonal conditions. CTV's Kamal Karmali on what this means for the months ahead.
A brief break from the blizzard without much rest. California residents clearing what they can.
We went from 0 to 100 pretty fast.
Before the next snowfall.
It's not really snow removal because it doesn't get removed.
The blizzard barreled in Thursday, battering parts of California and Nevada over the weekend. Some areas buried under 3 meters of snow, shutting down 160 kilometers of California highway while hurricane-force winds rolled into the region, gusts reaching more than 300 kilometers per hour.
I was horrified. I'm afraid we would just like drive off the road,
leaving thousands without power. Only a couple of states away, a stark contrast. Wildfire burning through homes in the Texas Panhandle, leaving at least 2 dead.
We currently have the largest fire in Texas history.
More than 1 million acres, that's over 6 times the size of Toronto. Crews diving into whatever resources they have with no end in sight.
Jesus.
In Canada, concern over fluctuating weather patterns, from temperatures rising to spring levels and dipping into deep freezes.
We do keep pushing the needle. Climate change makes the natural swings in climate even more extreme.
And what it would mean for the spring, deadlier wildfires and drought.
Maybe this should be a wake-up call, but we've been having more than a decade of wake-up calls.
With sparse snowpack levels being recorded in multiple provinces, including BC, Ontario, and Quebec, farmers are expecting a devastating impact to their crops.
Okay. The next video is going back to a month ago. You may have missed this because of all the devastation happening in Gaza that's human made, although this, well, but there were wildfires in Chile as well. And so this is drone video from the Chilean wildfire aftermath on Global News. Funny is the wrong word for it, but it is something how if we are not destroying ourselves with bombs, then we are destroying the environment, which comes and destroys us anyway. Not that fires don't happen outside of climate change, but we all know that the increase in regularity, essentially, of wildfires and their size, their devastation has absolutely just gone off the charts in recent years. Okay, what is the next video? Next video, staying with wildfires. This is from 9 days ago. This is the Telegraph. Moment fire truck drives through Texas wildfires as disaster declarations are issued. Okay. A wildfire in Texas has prompted evacuation orders as the blaze ensues, I think is what it said. What did that say? No, it didn't say that. What did it say? As the blaze in the state's panhandle doubled in size. Doesn't appear to be any sound from it. Footage shot from a fire truck shows flames and smoke spilling over a road as firefighters drive through it. Good God. How could you even know where you're going? The largest fire burned more than 300 square miles, doubling in size since the outbreak of the blaze. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties as the fires continued to burn. Authorities have not said what might have caused the blaze, which tore through sparsely populated plains. The largest blaze, known as the Smokehouse Creek Fire, is currently the 6th largest in Texas history. Footage from an airplane flying overhead shows swaths of fire and smoke blanketing the area. Holy fuck. That's from an airplane. For a second I thought it was a drone. I thought it was way lower. This is a fucking airplane. That's a massive amount of space. Wow, okay. And then this is from a day ago, relating to the same fires. This is the Texas wildfires on wide angle. Good God, this footage is just so rough.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Flames are going everywhere. And by the time we got back, well, there was nothing left. We basically have lost everything.
Good God. Look at that.
Scattered items, dust and rubble are all that are left of Richard Murray's home now. The ashes mark the scene of devastation at the site where Murray's home stood for many decades. Powered by strong winds and fueled by high temperatures, a wild inferno is burning down buildings, cattle, and livelihoods across the Texas Panhandle, the northernmost area of Texas in the United States.
The thing about this that blows me away so much that I didn't think about up until these fires was how far fires could travel even without a great deal of trees. You know, Texas doesn't have the biggest forests by any stretch of the imagination in the U.S. There's a lot of plains land, a lot of grazing land for cattle and other sorts of livestock, and yet somehow these fires have just gone through the brush like it's nothing, and just it's mind-boggling. Oh boy.
Many, like Richard Murray, sift through the ashes. They had tried desperately to save their homes from the furious blaze. But all they could do was to watch it all go up in flames.
You know, it was heartbreaking. It's our home. And not just us. We're in a good situation, but there's other families, you know, and they're really gonna hurt. Really gonna hurt. And all the ranchers around.
The Texas wildfire is the biggest blaze in the state's history so far. Across the Central Plains, around 8 million people are under red flag warnings.
Wow.
The temperatures are above normal in the Texas Panhandle.
That's basically like 3% of the American population. About, maybe a little less, but holy fuck.
And the devastation is far from over,
Holy
as
shit,
the inferno
just
is
rips through
expected to spread more rapidly, with ferocious winds and dry air fueling the flames. It marks another year and another record-breaking wildfire in the United States. But the US is not alone. In this episode
everywhere.
of Wide Angle, we tell you why
Australia,
wildfires
Chile,
need
Brazil.
our attention. From their cause to their impact, wildfires...
And remember, the Brazilian wildfires, I think they were looking at... Hold on, let's go back. You know me. I can't help it. I saw a graph. I saw an infographic.
Another record-breaking wildfire in the United States. But the US is not alone.
Yeah. These Brazilian wildfires are hugely problematic for the entire world because Brazil is home to the largest forest on Earth, and they've already been cutting down the forests for the animal agriculture industry at a rapid pace, having it burnt down by quote unquote natural causes, I guess you could call it, not helpful in any way. What was chat saying? You were under red flag warning and you're in Northeast Illinois, an hour west of Chicago. What's that about? I think I must have missed a comment in there somewhere.
In this episode of Wide Angle, we tell you why wildfires need our attention. From their cause to their impact, wildfires threaten homes, lives, and security. A wildfire is an unplanned and unpredictable fire in an area of combustible vegetation. Wildfires can start with a natural event, like a lightning strike or a human-made spark. But regardless of how it starts, it is the weather conditions that determine how much a wildfire spreads. The northern parts of the United States is home to some of the world's densest forests. It's also the reason why it experiences wildfires every year. Texas is currently battling its most shattering wildfire season on record. The blaze, known as the Smokehouse Creek Fire, has
1.2 million acres. That is crazy. That is so much land. Oh, it's almost hard to fathom 1.2 million acres. How hold on, I gotta Google that. How big is that? Give me perspective, Google, please. Okay, so it's 160 square miles, which is 40 miles on both sides, which is a lot. Not quite as much as I thought, but it's a lot.
Scorched over 1 million acres in the Texas Panhandle, making it one of the largest in the U.S. history. Racing across dry grasslands and residential areas, it destroyed cattle ranches, killing at least 2 people and thousands of cattle. Wildfires in the Texas Panhandle forced residents to flee their homes and seek shelter. The Celebration Family Church in the small town of Fritch, Texas, offered people and their pets a place to spend the night.
We had 50 plus people that has come through. We've tried to keep everybody's name, but at one point there was just so many coming in, and some of them would come in to use the restroom but go back out in their car because they had their animals.
Oh, yeah.
But we had animals here too. We had goats and horses and rabbits and cats and dogs.
The Smokehouse Creek fire started on the 26th of February. It spread around the town of Canadian, a cattle country community of about 2,002.
I actually just did the math on it real quick here. Yes, 1.2 million acres AC. And I just looked it up just because I had a feeling. The Gaza Strip is 141 square miles. So, the Texas wildfire, I forget what they're calling it, the Creek Fire or something, that it has covered an area larger than Gaza by 15%. Yeah, like 15%. So yeah, it's encompassed the space of an entire country, which we talk about seemingly every day.
100 people northeast of Amarillo, near the Oklahoma border. Within a couple...
I think it's been like a week and a half to... Who's asking that? Brandy. Yeah, I think it's been like 10 days or something like that, maybe. It's insane.
Days, the fire spread across vast swaths of ranch lands in the Panhandle. The fire has been burning across a sparsely populated area of Texas that is home to most of the state's cattle, millions of cows, calves, steers, and bulls.
You're right. Thank you, AC. I did not carry a decimal place. It's 10 times the size of Gaza. Excuse me. Excuse me. Cut that. Cut that. That was wrong. Yeah. 10 times. 10 times the size of Gaza. That's my bad.
Wildfires are nothing new for Panhandle ranchers, many of whom know how to use makeshift fire trucks to fight a blaze. Wide swaths of the grassland that Texas cattle rely on for food are charred. Thousands of cattle are dead or injured.
Okay. Next video. Gaza's half the size. Is it what? Wait. I can't do the math in my head right now. There's too many figures running around. This next video is from BBC. In Thailand, 10 million people suffer from pollution-related illnesses just in 2023 alone, which is humongous. The population of Thailand is 69 million. So that's 1/7 of the entire population is suffering from airborne pollution-related illness. I guess it's not really air. Yeah, no, it is airborne. What we're talking about. Okay. All right. Anyway, yes. Next. Here we go.
We're going to head to Thailand now and take a look at air pollution there. 10 million people are thought to have sought treatment for illnesses linked to air pollution last year. A report looked at cases like chronic conditions, lung cancer, bronchitis, asthma, heart disease. Panisa Moshe told us more from Bangkok.
Air pollution is become a seasonal thing for us Thai people. So every now and again, we expect that during the drought, so probably around December to about April, that we will face with this kind of pollution. Last year on 20 and 20.
Brandy, you just noticed the Post-it notes? That's hilarious. I love the Post-it notes. I made these real quick in Photoshop and threw them on the computer. I mean, they're real. They're real life. I stuck them on there. They're important. They're serious tasks that I have to take care of. The left is best one is just a reminder, you know. So yeah. I'm glad somebody noticed that. I've been wondering if they're too small for people to notice, but I just figured I'd leave them there as like an Easter egg for people to find. Okay, Thailand. Back to Thailand, where people can't breathe.
Bangkok enjoyed good, not polluted day only for 31 days of the year, and other provinces, especially toward the north of Thailand, for example, Chiang Mai, they suffer a lot, not only for the hotspot that coming from Thailand, but also from other countries as well. In 2019, pollution has become a national agenda, and we're trying to solve the problem. But so far, if you look into the outcome, so we have the number from 2023, there are 3 measures that the government set that whether or not it.
Now, I would just point out that because I kind of try to set these up in a way where I could make points based upon previous videos. And, you know, we just got done watching all these videos about wildfires that are happening. And those contribute greatly to air pollution, right? The smoke doesn't just dissipate into space, okay? Not immediately, that's for sure. In fact, I think most of it doesn't. But the majority of smoke just kind of travels around the earth, following the winds, winding up wherever it winds up. So, you know, now while, you know, there's plenty of what do you call it? Like coal burning factories in Asia. So I'm not going to suggest that it's just wildfires, but they contribute. They're a significant contributing factor to this sort of stuff. And while air quality might not be our first problem when it comes to climate change, considering that we are under threat of fire, flood, and other sorts of things, it's definitely something to consider, and it's a downstream effect of all this.
To solve the problem. So on the number of the day that we are polluted or not, the number has been increased from 26 days in 2022 to 52 days in 2023. This is the first measure. The second measures on the hotspot within the country has been increased from about 50,000 spots in 2022 to 170,000 hotspots in last year. And last but not least, about the patient, we have recorded of 20 and 22 patients with lung cancers, disease in respiratory, about 900,000. And
Wow.
now it's up to 2.2 million.
Jesus, 2.2 million? Oh my god, that is bad. That's really bad. What is that? 2 and 6? 60, 70 million? Is that 3% of the population? I'm trying to do the math. I can't do the math right now. Oh my god, that's bad. It's not... Oh, wow. Okay. That's horrendous. This next video is from ABC 7 News Bay Area. Came out a day ago. And it says that San Francisco and major coastal cities are sinking amid rising sea levels. All right, let's watch this incredibly depressing report.
Flooding due to rising sea levels could actually be worse in the U.S. than previously thought. So not only is water rising, but major coastal cities are also sinking, this according to a new study, and that includes San Francisco as well as other Bay Area cities. ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fawn spoke with the experts.
San Francisco is one of several local cities sinking into the ground, according to new research. And that, mixed with rising sea levels, could make flooding even worse in the coming decades. The new information comes from a paper published in Nature that studied subsidence.
Ooh, obsolete optics. Hold on, I'm going to have to go back because I was reading that comment of yours. But don't blame yourself, because that's a great comment that I wouldn't want to just go by. It's a great fucking point. Fun fact, soot from pollution and fires ends up on glaciers and ice at the poles, turning white snow and ice black, further contributing to the melting through reducing albedo, or reflectance, the more you know. And that's absolutely 100% true. I've read that or seen it somewhere to my recollection, so I don't think anybody even needs to Google that unless you're seriously interested in it. But yeah, no, that's factual. That is factual.
Flooding due to rising sea levels could actually be worse in the U.S. than previously thought. So not only is water
Night, Mike.
rising,
Good seeing you,
but
pal.
major coastal cities are also sinking, this according to a new study, and that includes San Francisco as well as other Bay Area cities. ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fawn spoke with the experts.
San Francisco is one of several local cities sinking into the ground, according to new research. And that, mixed with rising sea levels, could make flooding even worse in the coming decades. The new information comes from a paper published in Nature that studied subsidence, or sinking in 32 coastal cities, including San Francisco, South San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Foster City, and Santa Cruz.
Subsidence is part of the problem, but for the Bay Area, what's unique to us is our triple whammy of sea level rise, rising groundwater, and lowland flooding from more extreme storms.
Werner Chabot is with the San Francisco Estuary Institute, an environmental science research institute focused on the Bay and the Delta.
The Bay Area is ground zero for climate change and sea level rise. We're literally 8 million people living in a bathtub.
The report said it's too late for mitigation efforts, so we need to adapt. Efforts are underway to control flooding in the future. Foster City is improving its levees. And in San Francisco, there's a plan to elevate the ferry building and most of the Embarcadero 7 feet into the air. But that plan, introduced back in January, would need approval from Congress.
Our future depends on taking action now. This is why the...
Ugh, Nancy. Always talking about us taking action now, and yet you're always the one who's supposed to be taking action for us. Remember your job?
draft plan is so critical to protecting the city's seawall from earthquake and flooding risks.
My guess is that Nancy and her husband have a bunker. One in chat if you think they've got a bunker.
It'll be a big price tag.
It's going to cost a lot to make all the suggested improvements across the Bay Area.
Smoke and ash reflect some solar radiation before it reaches the ground. Oh, that's so great. Thanks, AC. I would point out that that is the premise of the movie The Matrix, or at least half of it. But okay, yeah.
Cost over the next 25 years to prevent lowland flooding by the year 2050 is about $110 billion of infrastructure improvements we're going to have to make.
But not doing anything could be even more costly in the long run. The estimated price tag? About $230 billion in estimated damages and repairs that would have to be done.
There's a tremendous amount of planning being done at the city, county, and regional level right now, and there will be an intensive amount of work done over the next couple of years.
In San Francisco, Suzanne Fawn, ABC 7 News.
The thing is that I worry about greatly is that if we don't learn quickly how to stop, well, not learn, but like as a society, learn how to and enact dramatic change to solve the climate crisis, like these sorts of things, like talking about the rebuilding of coastal areas and stuff like that, it becomes an act in futility, right? Because they're just going to keep getting hit, keep getting hit, and at some point it will be just a complete sink of not just cost economically, but more cost on the environment, more concrete being made, more like everything. I mean, I don't want to go down the list of all the construction materials, but you get my point, chat. Okay, this is from a day ago, from Reuters. EU reports that the ocean temperature hit a record high in February. Every single day, I feel like we hear another climate record. It is genuinely terrifying.
Ocean temperatures hit their highest all-time record in February, a startling milestone that saw the surface of the world's seas hit 69.9 degrees Fahrenheit on average. That's according to the EU's
I want to say nice, but no, definitely not nice.
Climate Change Service, or CS3, on Thursday. They said the new record broke a previous average of almost 69.8 degrees in the Northern Hemisphere summer last August, in a dataset that goes back to 1979. This last month was also the hottest February on record, the 9th consecutive month to set their own monthly record. An El Niño climate pattern this year, fueled by warmer surface waters in the eastern Pacific, is driving extra heat. However, Carla Buontempo, director of the CS3, says human-caused climate change is still largely to blame.
So there are a number of co-causes, but fundamentally, and these are fluctuations. So you have, as for El Niño, positive phases and negative phases. So on the long-term average, they typically average to zero. But climate change keeps adding up because we keep pumping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And so this fundamentally makes new temperature record more likely to be broken.
This week, marine scientists warn of a likely fourth global mass coral bleaching event in the southern hemisphere, potentially the worst in history due to warming waters. Corals bleach under heat stress and will expel the helpful algae that live in their tissues, leaving behind a pale skeleton, which makes them vulnerable to starvation and disease, and many die. That can lead to the collapse of reef ecosystems.
This is one of the things that depresses me so much. Because I love the ocean. I love the fish and all of the other little creatures that live in it. And corals are one of the most beautiful things on Earth. A healthy coral reef is incredible. It holds such a large amount of biodiversity and just visually. And I know that's not important on a biome level, but it does. There's something about it, like the loss of coral reefs around the world is just so depressing to watch. And all I can think about is like Nemo and whatever his name is, Marlin, just being all sad. And it makes me depressed.
Coastlines vulnerable and fisheries depleted. While the global sea surface temperature record excludes polar oceans, conditions there are also concerning. Antarctic sea
Exactly, Dogs are goth. You get it.
hit its third lowest extent on record in February, 28% below average. The CS3 said El Nino is now weakening in the equatorial Pacific, but the air temperatures over the oceans remain at an unusually high level.
Stop it. Not going good out there. Oh, this is an especially doomerific Friday Doomer report, isn't it? Okay. Next video. Earth records warmest February in modern times. Now, this is not the ocean temperature. This is just generally, I think it includes the ocean temperature, but it's both the ocean and the rest of the climate. So let's watch this BBC piece from a day ago. Fucking hell.
Right, let's look at climate change now, and another unwelcome record. February was the warmest.
Yeah, acidification, desalinization, bleaching, it's all bad. It's all bad, and it's all contributing to each other. The worse it gets, the worse it gets. And that's oh god.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
February on record. And we can take a look at the numbers. They're pretty stark here. This graph tells the picture. That bar right on the far right-hand side there saying February 2024, that was last month. That was February, and 1.77 degrees above pre-industrial temperatures, a record. You can see those bars there go all the way back to 1940 odd, and you can see the trend as well. The latest claims come from the EU Climate Survey.
I can't resist. I gotta pause it. Okay, this graph says February 24, hottest on record. Global average February temperature by year compared with the pre-industrial average for February 1850 to 1900. Yeah, we had 1 year since 1940 that was colder than pre-industrial. But it's basically been a straight line up and to the right. It's so terrible. Good God.
To explain all the numbers, here's our climate editor, Justin Rolat.
Spring begins when the magnolia trees bloom, according to Cornish tradition. And spring came early in Cornwall and the rest of Europe this year. Temperatures across the continent this February were almost 3 degrees above average. The exceptional warm weather the world experienced last month did not surprise climate scientists. It coincides with a near-record increase in CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere. The link between CO2 and rising temperatures is well established, and this year global temperatures got an extra boost thanks to El Nino, which brings warmer water to the surface of parts
Thanks, El Nino.
of the tropical Pacific. That explains why February was 1.77 degrees warmer than pre-industrial temperatures, and why global average temperatures hit a record 1.55 degrees above pre-industrial levels over the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's higher than 1.5, which is what we're supposed to be avoiding. That's fucked. That's fucked. I honestly thought that at this point we were going to avoid this, you know, and it's just so frustrating to see it in my lifetime. People were talking about it 20 years ago, I feel like, when I was like a kid, saying, oh, like, this could happen, but we got plans. Well, what the fuck happened?
Means we have temporarily at least breached the 1.5 degree threshold the world agreed to try and limit temperature rise to avoid the worst impacts of climate change.
February 2024 was the warmest February in record globally, with an average temperature of 13.54 degrees above the 1991-2020 temperature. And while this is remarkable, because for instance it's a tenth of a degree warmer than the warmest previous February, which was 2016, is not really surprising, because this has been the El Nino year, where temperature tend to be warmer than usual. And more importantly, we have seen over the last few decades a piling up of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which bring up the temperature.
Yeah, you know, I think everybody knows I was just joking about the El Nino. Because, I mean, it's one of those things that's completely, effectively, like, not in our control in any way, form, or fashion, right? Aside from the very downstream effects of global warming, right? It's just a thing that has always happened outside of human activity, but it's been drastically affected in terms of how strong the El Ninos and El Niñas are. And I was just trying to be funny, honestly, because I was trying to find something else other than us for a half a second to blame in a sarcastic way, just to lighten the mood. So hopefully it at least did that. I'm also worried about the fish. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At certain temperatures, plants shut their stromata down and cease respiration to avoid moisture loss. Fucking true. And it's another one of these systems. That's the thing. I feel like to be able to grasp all of this stuff, like, you literally need a group of people to do, right? Because there's things you forget. Every person will forget, even if you're really intelligent. There's just so much to remember, right? And to be able to put that all together to, like, an actual plan, let alone a strategy, like, it's fucking not, it's like, it's so frustrating that people aren't working together more, right? Like, it feels like all the global leaders at the EC20s and the fucking, what's the other one? The climate, like the Paris climate agreements and stuff like that. It's all just nonsense ideas. It's no real plans, no real strategies. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking.
Of the entire planet.
We all enjoy warm weather, especially after the downpours this winter, but we should worry when the seasons get out of whack. Some plants and animals can struggle to survive, though scientists say urgent action to cut emissions can still slow warming. Justin Rolat, BBC News.
And here's Dan Mitchell, Professor of Climate Science at the University of Bristol Cabot Institute for the Environment.
We in the climate community, we're not surprised to see these at all. We have this large-scale heating caused by El Nino, and that's sitting on top of this long-term trend in warming from CO2. And when those two things coincide, we start to see lots and lots of temperature records broken. So we're not surprised at all. Even the previous 3 Februaries were really warm, and they were sitting on top of a La Nina, so that's the opposite of El Nino. So that was the more surprising thing, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah, these guys discarded a bunch of climate models that were seen as being too alarmist, but those are now turning out to be fucking true. Yeah. And that's the thing that's bothered me, is that they've gone with the conservative models time and time again to be able to suit countries like Saudi Arabia and other oil producing nations like us, because we're definitely on that list. Venezuela. I'm trying to think of all the biggest oil producers right now, but I guess my point is that, you know, in order to suit capital interests, in order to suit the current state of affairs, we have provided ourselves with nonsense plans on this situation, and we're seeing not the benefits, but the results The Earth is literally burning. You can't not say it. It's factual. It's burning. It's flooding, and it's not just normal, you know. Certain kinds of plankton, instead of respiring CO2 and converting it to O2, like yes, they start producing hydrogen sulfide instead, which is fucking poisonous, and also pretty sure it's also not super good for. I could be wrong. I'm not going to make this claim, but I could swear it's not real good for the atmosphere either. Not just for humans, but for the what do you call it? My brain is always breaking on this word. I'm just going to keep listening to this guy. He's smarter than me.
Just want to take a quick look now at some of the other numbers, some of the other data, some of the graphs we've got here, because as you mentioned, there's different measurements. Let's take a look at ocean temperatures first of all here. And we can see that red line top left is 2024. Looks quite considerably higher than other years.
We've looked at this graph before, but it is scary. 2023 was already freaking insane, right? You look at that red line from 2023. It's fucking nuts. It's way off the charts. It started off like at the top of the chart and then went freaking crazy. 2024, it's starting at a whole new place. It's just like, fuck it. And that is the feedback loop. It's like literally imperative that we figure some shit out like right now. The more and more that I assess these graphs, the more freaked out that I get, chat.
Yeah, well, I can't see the same graphics you're seeing, but yes, the ocean temperatures are warming a lot, and we see that in the impacts of that warming as well. So we're seeing certain fish populations migrating more poleward. Around the UK, for instance, cod that used to be very prevalent around here has moved up northwards. We're seeing that impact things like coral reefs, and that's one of our really big concerns, because if you damage coral reefs, you bleach them because of the change in temperature, they don't come back. And so that's one of the tipping points we're really concerned about with climate change.
Okay, and can you just remind us of this 1.5 degrees C? What's it actually mean? What's it referring to?
So this is the Paris Agreement climate goal, and it says we want to limit our global average temperature to 1.5 degrees, and there's another limit, 2 degrees. And those two limits were chosen because we know certain impacts of climate change are particularly bad at those limits.
Oh, but the limits over what? Because people expect you talk about temperatures. Why aren't we just using temperatures that everyone uses in everyday life?
So 1.5 degrees refers to the globally average temperature across the year, relative to what we call pre-industrial, so relative to before we were emitting greenhouse gases. And 1.5 degrees doesn't sound like much, but that's averaged over everything. And we know that temperatures warm more over lands. That's where people and animals and diversity lives. We know that it can warm more in cities, for instance. And so that 1.5 degrees, which seems like quite a small increase in temperature, can actually be 5-6 degrees when you really get down to the impact relevant scales.
Thanks to Dan Mitchell there.
Whoa.
But we're going to begin on this.
We're going to skip this video. Are you leaving, Brandy? If so, good night. Otherwise, we are going to move on to... Oh, you're still here. Okay, cool. We are going to move on to the next video here. And honestly, yeah, we got like 6 minutes of content left. So, yeah, I'm just going to watch the rest. I'm going to watch this video as well, because this is just so fucking important. I kind of just want to know everything I can about this, right? Like, that graph should concern everybody. The fact that it started the year so far out of the normal range, it does not bode well for the rest of the year. Like they were saying at the beginning of this, that CTV video warned of dramatic wildfires. And we've already seen the largest wildfire in Texas history. We've already seen a massive one in Chile. Brazil's on fire. Australia's on fire. And it's not even April. Okay.
A morning with a dire warning about the state of the world's air and oceans. Climatologists say global temperatures hit record highs last month. That's a key sign that major changes are needed in the fight against climate change.
No
the
kidding.
Concerns span the entire globe, with rising temperatures having critical
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
implications for everything from coral reefs in tropical waters to the integrity of sea ice around the North and South Poles. And that's where we begin this morning with Tricia Kindleman in on the story for us. Again, let's look at this report broadly. It's just coming out this morning from the European Union's Climate Change Monitoring Service. What are some of the main points?
So far, this is our 9th month in a row with these record temperatures, and it's also leading to those record high sea temperatures as well. So this is the highest ever recorded. We're also seeing global temperatures for the past 12 months hitting record highs. Now, this report has data from March of 2023 till February of this year. The highest on record at 1.56 degrees Celsius, above those pre-industrial levels. We've heard a lot of talk about that 1.5 degree marker as that threshold, beyond which over the long term we could see some of those worst impacts of climate change happen. Those numbers are being called extremely concerning by some experts, saying they're exceptionally high, especially during the first half of the month of February. Now, some of these researchers are also saying that this could have some major impacts.
There are direct impact on the marine ecosystem, on fisheries, on all that is related to life in the oceans. But then there are also impact on the climate, the impact on the atmosphere. We do know, for instance, that warmer temperature, or in general, warmer ocean makes some phenomena more intense.
Now, just this week, we also heard from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They said that the world is on the verge of a 4th mass coral bleaching event, which could see wide patches of tropical reefs die, including parts of Australia's Great Barrier Reef. So some major implications that we are bearing witness to as we go through and digest this latest data.
And as we do, obviously looking for what's behind this and what is driving these record highs. What are the scientists saying now about that, Tricia?
Well, we absolutely have to mention the impacts of El Nino this year. So that tropical weather system often leads to some higher temperatures than normal around the world, and it can have impacts on all sorts.
I'm not the only one blaming it on El Nino, chat, okay? She's doing it too. Granted, she's a real journalist, and I'm just a guy in a space station talking into a microphone. But yeah, you know, clearly it's El Nino's fault.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Air patterns and that sort of thing as well. So now with the impacts of El Nino, again, that explains some of these higher temperatures that we've seen, especially through these recent months. But the impacts of greenhouse gases also cannot be minimized.
There are a number of co-causes, but fundamentally, and these are fluctuations. So you have, as for El Nino, positive phases and negative phases. So on the long-term average, they typically average to zero. But climate change keeps adding up because we keep pumping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And so this fundamentally makes new temperature records more likely to be broken.
So and that seems to be the general messaging from researchers. Without some major shifts in habits, we can expect to see these numbers continue.
Yeah, I'm honestly genuinely going vegan. I haven't been a perfect man in that regard, unfortunately, but I've been meaning to, and now it's happening because shit is fucked. And I honestly think we all should, because I feel like if we just don't start making some fucking sacrifices, we're gonna really regret it sooner than we think. So, just thinking out loud here, folks. Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna keep it going. Sorry to be suggesting you to do things with your life. You do whatever you want, but you know, I think it'll be more effective if we work together. You have to ask, what's the crazy pill line from? You recognize the voice but don't remember the line. It's Will Ferrell. It's Will Ferrell. Does that help? Does that help to you at all? I'll play it loud real quick.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
What is that from? What is Will doing in this moment?
I got boxes full of Pepe.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
I haven't been the best man. Are you making a joke? Is that a joke? Are you making jokes at me? Actually, now that I think of it, I have been the best man, but just in relation to like a wedding, and not in this particular situation. I could be better. I could be better. All right, what was I saying? What was I doing a thing? Oh, right. I was trying to figure out if Brandy could figure it out. But since Brandy hasn't figured it out, it would seem, I'll just let you in on it. This line,
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
that is from Zoolander. I haven't been the best. That's still a sentence. That's still a sentence. I haven't been the best. I just skipped the noun. Fuck it. You know? Not necessary.
To rise. We've heard a lot about that degree and a half marker that we mentioned earlier. So right now they do say that this is temporarily above that marker, but with some habit changes, it is possible to bring these numbers back down in the future.
Hey, Tricia, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tricia. I'm not fucking terrified. Now, it's funny, because they kind of led into it. Multiple videos led into it, saying that there could be a mass bleaching event. Well, this is a video from 10 hours ago on NBC News. Can you guess what the title is? Australia's Great Barrier Reef has been hit by a major coral bleaching event. Oh, shocker. Well, here we go. Here we go, people. Let's do it. Not even gonna move the screen. Just gonna do it right from here. Okay. You knew it was Will. Okay. Okay. Here it is. Like they predicted. Australia's Great Barrier Reef has been hit by a major coral bleaching event, with results consistent with patterns of heat stress, a government agency said. This is from Keppel Islands, Australia. This is fucking horrific. It looks like... Who remembers... I'm sure you all do. Or at least most of you do. Probably, depending on what your childhood was like. But who remembers the original Lion King, right? And when Simba goes down into the elephant graveyard, right? That's what this picture looks like to me. It's like it's the elephant graveyard from the Lion King, but underwater. It looks terrifying. Like if I were a fish, I'd be like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I haven't been the best man with being vegan. Exactly. Right. Like I've kind of tried at different times, been mostly vegetarian to, but like will still like occasionally be like, fuck it, I just really want meat right now. But with that sort of shit, I think I can get over wanting meat. Okay.
Oh, it's devastating, you know, because especially at the Keppels, which is where I was recently.
How old am I? Obsolete? I'm 10,000 years old. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm like, you know. The number starts with a 3. I'll say that much. And the second number isn't over a 5. Exactly. I'm 10,000 years old. I have no idea what you're talking about. Age is just a number.
You know, we've seen a lot of recovery on these reefs. There are some incredible spots. And to see a lot of these reefs bleached and, you know, they're potentially going to, you know, lots of the corals might die. And then, you know, we're going to have to follow them through several years of recovery. Yeah, it's just really quite heartbreaking. I am in tears underwater every now and then when I see this stuff. But I think it's really important to have hope. And I'm just hoping that the water temperatures will come down enough for most of the corals to survive and recover. Because the alternative is if the corals die, then it's, you know, it takes a long time for reefs to recover.
Bleaching corals, bleaching causes corals to expel the colorful algae living in their tissues, turning them white. Coral can survive a bleaching event, but it can stunt growth and affect reproduction. Woof. Well, how was that International Women's Day, everybody? How are you feeling? Was that uplifting? I'm sorry. I did genuinely try, at least for part of it, but it's hard to make genocide and the destruction of Earth uplifting. Oh Christ. Okay. Oh, where'd those legs come from? Weird. Maybe they were there the whole time. I hope you've all had a fantastic International Women's Day. Perhaps I've helped. That said, I do feel like a lot more needs to be done. Not just with that, but basically everything we've discussed. I do hope tomorrow we can make a difference. Well, that's about it for me, Streamlord. I'll see you next time. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation.
I'm taking crazy pills!